gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is At the Helm Sports. I'm your host, Derek Helm. Thank you for joining me for episode 177. Please be sure to follow and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave those 5-star reviews if you're watching on YouTube. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Down in the comments section, let me know who is your favorite play under 7K on Draftkings for the Masters, because that's what we're doing this week. We are diving into the Masters. We will be going through the Draftkings pricing, best plays, and strategy this week. Very excited that we are into the major season. Sick of all these weak fields and terrible events, and had to bring back the boys. So joining me, we have, for the first time since before week 1 of the NFL season, Mike Carpanini. How we doing, Mike?
Boys, how are you now? Has it really been that long? Like, we didn't do anything in season last year?
Nope, nothing.
Wow.
And Dave Utnick. Dave, how we doing?
It's good to be back after the long winter, guys. We've got our unofficial or official start to golf, so happy to chat, do something with this one and you guys today.
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, anyone that's been listening for a while or watching for a while obviously knows this is going to go through absolutely perfectly with no problems. We are complete professionals here, and there are never any issues. So that's obvious. And if you're new, I mean, everything I just said is an absolute lie. So welcome to the show. But as I said, it's Masters Week. I am very excited. Already have 2 articles out. I have the Masters preview, broke down everything you need to know from Augusta, recent history, broke down some golfers to consider. So everything you need there for a Masters preview. And then nobody really cares about Live. So I just wrote up all 12 golfers that are playing in the Masters from Live, their recent form, their Masters history. So that is up on thehelmsports.com right now. So check all that out. But as I said, we're going to dive into DraftKings this week. And obviously, we can start first with Augusta. Most of us are pretty familiar with it. Now, 7,555 yard par 72, bent grass greens, a lot of elevation changes, a lot of awkward lies. Off the tee matters quite a bit. There is no rough. If you go too far off of course, you're going to be in the pine straw, maybe behind some trees. Dave, I know you saw firsthand that when I am very drunk on a simulator, probably not the best for me to be playing at Augusta. So if there's anyone that hits the ball off the tee like they're drunk, maybe stay away from them this week.
I mean, you shot a cool 40 to 60 over, so you might have been on something.
Yeah, and I was just trying to see everything the course has to offer so that I could offer the best advice when we did this podcast. That was really the game plan.
And your key takeaways from that round?
You get very drunk if you drink a lot of Jameson.
It's fair. Completely fair.
Yeah. So prepared well for this one. But yeah, a lot of mid to long irons. Basically, you need guys that have played the course before. It's very, very strategic. You got to know, based on pin placement, the hole can play completely different from one day to the next. You got to know what level to hit it on. You got to know where to hit it on the green. Otherwise, you're going to roll off, potentially roll all the way back. So got to have an intimate just ability to recall this course and where to put the ball off of the tee and on your approach shots. These greens are very fast. There are a lot of runoff areas, so you're going to have to play around the green, have to be a little bit of a magician there from time to time. So it tests everything from tee to green. But what are you looking for specifically, Mike, this week? I mean, the Masters is in its own right, it's its own test.
I mean, course history. It's the Masters, so you always like to played well here in the past. And I like the same thing no matter where we play. I want ball strikers. The greens are challenging. If you miss, don't miss. If you can get through hitting 14, 15 greens where, even if you're putting them in the meat, even if you're just kind of leaving, nothing's a just gimme 2-putt par here. But, if you can make a lot of 2-putt pars, sneak some of them in, attack the par 5s, like you're going to be in good shape come Sunday at Augusta.
Yeah, I agree. So, Dave, what are you looking for in golfers this week?
I mean, it's a lot of what, Mike had already talked about here. Course history is going to play a huge role, but you want to make sure that you've got some guys that have some touch around the green. If the around the green games are really going to come into play, and that's where some of that course history also comes into play a bit. You need to be able to make your way around the greens to get up and down, because these greens are going to be very difficult if you're not hitting them, like Mike said.
Yeah, it's a test of everything. I mean, you got to have some off the tee. You can't get too wild off the tee. You got to hit those mid to long irons and try and hit as many greens as you can, but not just hitting greens, hitting them in the right spot. When you don't hit greens, you're going to have to chip your way out of it. It's just a test tee to green, and it's why it's one of the best tournaments every year. And speaking of one of the best tournaments every year, there's a guy that's won it twice in the past 3 years, and Scottie Scheffler leads everything off at 12,400. Now, as I just said, he's won 2 of the last 3 years here, so not really in the form that he was coming in last year. Doesn't have a win yet this year. Obviously, the cut to his hand and the surgery hit the start of his season came a little bit late and hasn't really looked like himself, but still, right up there and competing and at least contending. It's just a matter of the ball striking has been off just slightly compared to what we saw last year. And I mean, really, it just comes down to if he's going to be able to make some putts. But, it's do we think that Scottie can run away with it this year? Probably not. And then you got Rory that's coming in and actually does have 2 wins. This is the best form he's ever been in coming into the Masters, but the Masters has been a huge hurdle for him to clear. So is that still in his head? But I would say without a doubt, these are the 2 top golfers in their own tier up here at the top, and for good reason. But Dave, what are your thoughts? I mean, is it one of these 2 guys and then the rest of the field is just hoping that somehow they skip over themselves? Are you scared of them this week, or?
Yeah, I'm terrified of the 2 of them, especially because I don't plan on betting either of them. I'm going to fill out, a full card here that doesn't have either of those 2 golfers on there. But Rory's arguably playing the best golf on the planet right now, and Scottie is the best golfer on the planet, although he really hasn't shown it to the levels that he was last year. I mean, he's still playing great golf, just not compared to what we saw last year. But when you look around in terms of, the field that we have overall, there's not a lot of guys out there that you'd consider the Dragon Slayers to, not only do we have to beat, Scottie this week, we got to take down the both of them. So it's going to be an interesting week. My winner's going to come from further down the board. But, in a vacuum, these 2 guys, the far and beyond favorites. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was very close to betting Rory. I saw a 725 on him. I was about to take it. Actually had it in the bet slip, ended up not doing it, and then that number disappeared. So I just keep going back and forth. Do I really want to put everything into just him this week, or do I want to maybe take a shotgun approach and get a couple more guys on the card? So that's really where I keep going, because there's no one below these 2 that stick out head and shoulders above the rest for me. Mike, where are you at with these 2 this week?
You guys know I'm a Scotty guy, and usually I'll just jam him in there no matter what. With him not being Scotty, like that price difference is stark. Like it just doesn't feel like he's 1,300 ahead of Rory. And I feel like we had this conversation on last year's Masters show. If Rory didn't get it done last year, then when? And I feel like we're just having the same conversation again this year. If he doesn't get it done this year, then when? Like it's, but we've been having that conversation for a while now. He's come in hot, into the Masters a bunch of times. So, these are 2 of my favorite golfers, and I'm honestly having a tough time getting to both of them.
I mean, I think this is arguably as good as of form as Rory has come into the Masters in recent memory.
Oh, it's the best form.
If not ever. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
saying he's won twice before the Masters, but he's not a real slow starter. Like even when you look at him every year, it's like he's got 3 top 3s or 4 top 10s or whatever. Like it's the wins are there this year, but he usually starts seasons pretty well.
Yeah, he'll win over in like Dubai or something like that, and then have top fives on the PGA Tour coming in. But I do think this is definitely the best form he's been in. You know, the fact that he's winning these events, and I think a lot can be said about, you know, the mental state of just the pressure of winning the Masters is one thing, but then when he's going through the divorce on top of it, and you don't know where his headspace is, and that pressure could get to him even more. So I think the fact that that's behind him this year, maybe he can get over that hurdle. And then also the fact, you know, he said a couple weeks ago he needs to play more like Scottie, and that's something we've kind of seen this year is where he doesn't try and just overpower every course. He's thinking a little bit more and being a little bit more conservative, which around Augusta is something you absolutely have to do, and one of the reasons why Scottie's won 2 of the last 3 years. But if we go down a little lower, I do love the fact that they priced these guys up this high, especially Scottie being over 12,000 with no 5K range. You know, usually we see some soft pricing in majors because there's so many more casuals. I love what they did this week. They're saying, you want to play him? Go ahead. So Ludwig obviously had the second place last year. He's been up and down this year. I just don't think I can get there on him coming off of a miscut. 10,800, third highest priced. He's probably going to be low owned because of that, but maybe people see the second place last year and jump on him. But it was pretty much all putting. I just can't get there on him this week. I'm going to play a ton of Colin Morikawa at 10,500. Doesn't have that dog in him. Don't know if down the stretch, if he's leading, if he's going to be able to hold on and win this thing. But I do know that there is no one in this field that I think is safer other than Scottie. Yeah, Scottie and Rory together. There you go. But I love where Morikawa's game has been. Obviously, he's been incredible coming in. So I'm going to play quite a bit of him. And then I like Rahm also at 10,400. You know, these guys have the upside. I don't know if Rahm has the safety Morikawa does, but he definitely has the upside. So I love the both of them, and their significant savings off of Rory and Scottie. But Mike, what are you thinking at the top in the 10K range outside of Scottie and Rory? I mean, would you skip over Scottie and Rory and go to some of these guys, or?
I think it's definitely possible to skip them, and you can probably get two, maybe even a third if you really want to dip down out of this range. You know, you said Morikawa, you know, obviously safe, ball striker, you know, love that all day. You know, Bryson, I've done a total 180 on Bryson. You know, a couple of years ago, he was almost public enemy number one for me. You know, he's still got that little bit of douche in him, but it's a fun, playful douche, so I'm willing to live with it. It's not that you know, super intense psychotic douche that he was. So you know, and he's one, you know, he's like the new Brooks kind of. He just shows up in majors, and admittedly he's on live, so it's the only time we see him is in majors because, you know, we're all over that bullshit. But you know, you can get to a couple. Yeah, Deki Matsuyama, again, ball striker. Like I think you can have a couple in this range. I feel fairly confident with.
Yeah, I love, you know, Bryson's my favorite golfer. He has been since he came onto the tour. He was an amateur here at the Masters. I think he came 16th. I think it was. He was definitely top 25 back then. The book that I used had top 25, so I bet him top 25. He hit it, and I've been a fan ever since. Just don't know if I can get to him here. You know, before last year, that when he was an amateur, that was his best start at Augusta. Just not a place that really fits his game. The soft conditions last year obviously helped quite a bit, and I just don't know if he has the finesse to get around here. Now, he is an incredible golfer, and I think I'm probably going to go more showdown with him and take him on a round to round basis than play him week long. Xander, I love. I do think that the ball striking is there. Obviously, last time out we saw him lead the field there in strokes gained approach. The short game has been a little bit hit or miss, which is understandable when you're coming back from a layoff. But I do think that we're getting a discount on him. You know, this is a guy that won 2 majors last year. I've seen him as high as 25-1. That's another reason why, you know, maybe not laying the 7-1 on Rory maybe going to Xander instead and hoping that short game can find its way back here. And then Justin Thomas has been playing incredible as well. I mean, you worry a little bit about his ability to blow up and just destroy a round in any given hole. And obviously that's more than possible here, but I like a lot of these guys. Mike, you said Hideki. The state of his game I don't love right now, especially he's been wild off the tee quite a bit, which used to be one of the stronger points of his game. He does have the short game to make up for it. And obviously we've seen plenty of times this year where he has basically just chipped in and saved a round by basically making chips. If you continually rely on that to get yourself out of trouble, it worries me a little bit. Now, obviously, he wasn't in the greatest form when he won here back in a couple years ago, so he can definitely do it. But Dave, what are you thinking in this upper range here?
I mean, you guys kind of touched on it a little bit before, but it's, the decision really lies with Scottie. Are you going to play him or not? And then as you make your way down, those decisions become a little bit more difficult. Do you want to, save just $300 to move down from Rory to Ludwig? I think that's, the $700 difference between Rahm and Rory is one that's meaningful, and you're not giving up much win equity there. So, that's where a lot of those decision points up there. How much savings and what are you getting from coming off of Rory to some of these other guys? That's something I'm going to be, taking a look at as the week goes on here. Like what you said about Xander, had my eye on him as a top of the board bet. I haven't pulled the trigger on anything there yet. Justin Thomas around the greens. I mean, the guy's a magician. He's got that touch that you certainly need here at Augusta. But like you said, can he keep the rest of his game on the rails long enough for, that to really matter? And, the only other guy from maybe actually, the low 9K ranges from with Neiman, Hovland, Fleetwood, you're getting some consistency there. You're getting guys that can show up in majors. You're getting that win equity. So I kind of like the lower end of that 9K range. And, it's up top is still plenty of decisions to be made, but I really like John Rahm at 10-4. And then the decisions are really going to come in with Rory, Aberg, and Morikawa in terms of what do you gain at the bottom of your lineup from moving off the salary savings on Rory?
Yeah, I think I might have a couple lineups that start Colin and Xander, maybe Colin and Thomas. I just, Mike, you said you want ball strikers here, and those are obviously three extremely elite ball strikers. They're great with the irons, and especially in the range that we want here with the mid to long irons. So I think I might start a couple lineups there. Now, if we get to the lower 9K range, Spieth is going to be popular in some larger field stuff. He's been playing all right this year and obviously has an incredible track record at the Masters. But we have more casuals, and in some of the lower dollar, larger field stuff, I do think that he gets popular. People seem to love Shane Lowry this week at 8,800. I have some interest, but if he's going to be astronomically owned, I'm fine skipping over him. Tommy Fleetwood could be interesting here. Obviously, had a great finish here last year. He's been playing pretty good golf. 9,100, probably a little bit higher than I'd be generally willing to pay, but that could keep his ownership down, and maybe it makes some sense this week. But Mike, what do you like in this lower 9K, upper 8K range? Because there's really not a ton that I love.
I like Lowry. It bothers me that you say everyone else likes him too. Just plays Augusta well. He's always around there. On the weekends. Never really. I don't think he'll ever actually get it done, but he's always hanging. I like Minwoo. Let Minwoo cook. Dude when he's on, makes a ton of birdies. So, I think that can carry through Augusta really well. But Fleetwood, yeah, interesting, but I think this is where some savings can be had. I think you come down a little bit further, you're going to live there more than here.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up Minwoo. That's literally, I've made one bet so far, and I made it on Saturday. Took a little boost on FanDuel, got him up to 69 to 1. Jump back in again today, 65 to 1. Just, I mean, he checks a lot of boxes of what you want here. I've never been a Minwoo guy. Obviously, bet him when he just won. So he's coming off a win. You know, usually you're not going back to back winning and then winning again at the Masters, but the fact that he got that win, that's a huge confidence boost to him. The fact that Scottie was basically breathing down his neck and he just, despite finding trouble, didn't care, still came out and did what he had to do and win that. Check that box. What do you want here? You want guys that are good off the tee, that have some distance and a great short game. He has one of the best short games in the field. Check that box. He has actually a very good caddy. People underrate caddies quite a bit. I mean, his caddy was Shane Lowry's caddy when he won the Open Championship. And then Lowry's best finish at the Masters was a third place in, I think, 2022. Guess who his caddy was? So he has some major experience. He's going to be on the bag for Minwoo. Minwoo's game translates well here. Should have some confidence coming in. I love Minwoo at 8,500. Dave, what are your feelings on this range here?
You guys pretty much covered them. I like Minwoo at 8,500. I bet Shane Lowry already at 45 to 1. So I'm in there. Probably keep an eye on ownership, but I bet the outright, so I'll probably play him on Draftkings also. I'm not going to fade Jordan Spieth at the Masters, but I'll probably be pretty light there. And Patrick Cantlay's game seems to be coming together. Not a big fan of his in general or want to see him win, but he seems to be pretty good value in this range here. And as we dip a little bit further, because we have no bounds to these ranges, Will Zalatoris at 8,300, second place, top 6 with Drew, top 9. I've also bet him already at 65 to 1. So those are my favorites in that range. And if we're going to continue on to the 8Ks, Akshay Bhatia, like him, had a nice start here last year, T35 as a debutant. Have a future on him as well from a couple months ago at 125 to 1. So pretty decent range in terms of some quality golfers here. You got a couple of live guys that can get pretty creative. Cam Smith and Hatton. Never really liked Hatton here at this course, but he did have a really nice showing last year. Just never thought he had the mentality for Augusta. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with him yet. And Cam Smith is another one that I'll probably stay on the outskirts of my decision tree in terms of narrowing guys down. Just not very impressed with what he's done in general since leaving the tour. So I don't know if I can get behind him at all.
Yeah, I'm out on Hatton. Just his game, even on live, has been pretty terrible. Never really, like you said, a course that fits him very well. He's vocalized his disdain for it quite a bit. Was okay last year, but I'm just not going to get there on him. I already said I love Min Woo. Russell Henley, definitely think with the golf that he's been playing makes a ton of sense, but I think a lot of people are going to be on him, and I would rather go to Zalatoris. I do think because you have Russell Henley there, Zalatoris, Bobby Mack, Bhatia, these are all guys that people are going to flock to. I think this range is going to be very popular. So for that reason, I think Cam Smith comes in very low owned, and with his track record at Augusta, I'm fine going there. I mean, he is a short game wizard, and it just continually shows up here at Augusta. And I honestly think that on live, he doesn't care at all. You know, he literally does not care. And then he just comes out to these majors, you know. It's kind of similar to Brooks. He doesn't have the success or track record that Brooks has, but it's like when he wants to play, he plays. And on live, he's just showing up every week because the game definitely reflects it. But every time he comes here, he seems to show up. So if you're going to give me Cam Smith at 8% owned, 6% owned, I'm fine with that. I do like Bhatia. I thought about making the bet on him. That number just keeps sliding. So I don't know if I'm going to get there on him. Might look to maybe do a matchup or something with him. And then Bobby Mack, if he gets too popular, I'll probably pivot off. But, you know, lefty narrative at Augusta, and I do think that he fits here quite a bit. Hasn't played in a couple years, but makes sense. Mike, you got anything to add to this 8K range on the lower end before we drop down into the sevens?
Not really. You mostly hammered my savings guys. So it was Bothie, it was Bobby Mack, and it was Connors. So that's where I'm gonna live instead of the high eights. Save a couple of bucks, especially if you're trying to get a couple in that top end.
So if we jump to the 7K range, I think that this is going to be a spot that gets overlooked quite a bit here. A lot of these guys have warts, not really the greatest form coming in. Corey Connors is in the best form of a lot of the field, really. He's had some good performances at Augusta, so could see him getting a little bit popular. But as I said, those guys just a couple $100 above him, probably keep his ownership down a bit. Tony Finau just has not been playing good golf. I don't think I can get there at 7,800. Wyndham Clark has never really played well at Augusta in his limited sample size. Thigala looks broken. Day just hasn't looked great. I love Sepp Straka. I've been on him a lot of this year. Another guy I'm considering betting, but I've heard a lot of people betting him too, so I could see him popular. So there's a lot of guys here that really don't love too much, but they should be low owned. So, Dave, is there anyone that sticks out to you in this range that is worth a shot?
With you on Substraka, I bet him at 80 to 1 this morning. So I'm on that one there with a bet. Matt Fitzpatrick has a really good course history here. Matt Fitzpatrick is playing absolutely awful golf. So there's that. Patrick Reed, probably my favorite play out of the 7K range. Play Patrick Reed at Augusta. Don't care what he's been doing overseas, although he's been grinding a little bit out there. But you're going to find, like you said, a lot of guys with a lot of warts, not a lot of great course history here in general. So you're really going to have to find your lane and, kind of stick to it here. But it's a tough range for sure. And just not a lot of guys. I mean, Tom Kim's got pretty good course history here. It is also playing terrible golf. So going to be a really tough range. And, your differentiator is probably in this range also because there's no easy answers here.
Yeah, I like the Reed call. I'd expect him to be pretty popular. 7,300 is a great price. He's played well, on Live coming in. He was 10th in Hong Kong, 25th in Singapore, second on the Asian tour. Just finished 7th in Miami last week. He was the first round leader and then kind of fell apart over the next 2 days, but obviously has the track record at Augusta. So I could definitely see people going there with him. Dustin Johnson's broken, worthless, probably can't get there. Burns, pretty much the same thing, just his game doesn't look great. Sung Jae doesn't look great. Justin Rose, I have a little bit of interest in at 7,200. Probably more, I think he has a little more upside than Adam Scott, but Adam Scott definitely has a safer floor. I don't think he's missed a cut at Augusta here, so definitely can make a case for him. Mike, what are you thinking in the 7K range here?
This is a course history range, and you guys said them. You got Patrick Reed, former champion, Adam Scott, former champion. So those are like you said, very high floors. Even DJ, like with as broken and irrelevant as DJ is, he's not 9,700 anymore. He's 75. So, are you telling me a 7,500 guy can't get through and maybe kind of backdoor his way into like a tied for 18th? Like, I don't think that's the I think you could do worse. I'm not trying to say I'll be heavy on DJ because, I'm over it too, but it's just not the same conversation we had, whatever it was 2 years ago when it was the first time, the Live guys were coming over.
Yeah, DJ he's been awful on Live. He really never had the greatest success at Augusta either, especially early in his career. Obviously, he had the win, but that was in November. That was the weird Masters. Since then, he's missed the cut twice, 48th place, came 12th in 2022. It's just been downhill to him. And as I said with Cam Smith, I don't think Cam Smith cares, but every once in a while he just shows up places. I don't think Dustin Johnson gives a flying fuck anymore about golf.
I don't
The
think he
guy
did
just
back
wants
then
to
either, though. Like, he never gave a shit. He was just that, like, the difference between how he looks now and how he looked then is just because he was playing better then. But Dustin Johnson never gave a shit about golf.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right, but the problem is I don't think he has the ability that he
Which
once
is
did.
fair.
It's just,
It's fair.
it's not showing up. So I worry about that. Last year in the majors, I made a case to play him, just hoping we could see flashes, but really don't think that he's coming back, unfortunately. Berger, I like quite a bit, 7,100. You know, he's been playing really well this year. Let me down a little bit last week and kind of fell apart on the weekend, but 7,100 is a great price for him. We're talking about these live guys. Sergio is probably in the best form of any of them. Now, I think he will get pretty popular here too. So, Mike, I gotta ask you, are you willing to get out the makeup and cover up that black eye and say that Sergio loves you?
He does. He really does. Like, he just, he gets angry, but I kind of like, it's probably my fault too. Like, I probably shouldn't, I shouldn't push him like that. Yeah, I actually intentionally didn't mention him. I was just gonna let it go, but since you're dragging me there, like, I did mention this was like a full range of like former champions. So yeah, I'll have some Sergio.
He is playing well. I'm gonna let him hurt me too. David, what are you thinking in this lower 7K range?
Can you guys tell me just why I should not care at all about Cameron Young's course history here? Just real quick, so I can cross him off.
No, because I hate Cameron Young. I literally laugh at the people that bet him and play him every week, and I am probably going to play him this week. I saw enough last week. It's only 1 week at Valero, but I saw enough that mixed with the course history, I'm gonna play him at 7K flat. I think he's actually a good play this week.
I mean, I really just don't want to do it, and I'm with you. I laugh at everyone who bets Cam Young week after week because he just doesn't win anything. But two top tens the last 2 years. I mean, you can't overlook that. And I mean, he's playing okay golf. And like Mike was saying before, we're not talking about a $9,500 golfer here. I mean, he's 7 flat, so you could probably do worse in this area. There was one guy that I know everyone we were talking about beforehand that I'm not excited to play at all coming off the victory. That's Brian Harmon at 6,800.
Yeah,
I don't care at all that he won last week. 3 missed cuts the last 3 years. Has nothing to do with me there. Bottom of the 7K range here, I think we covered all of them. I like Davis Thompson as a debutant. You're not going to get a winner out of them, but it doesn't mean you can't get a strong showing for DraftKings purposes. So he's probably one of my favorites for our rookies here, and a strong showing down here.
yeah, I don't mind him. I was looking at the debutant market, and he actually is the favorite at 6-1. Rye is plus 650. I was kind of thinking about making that. I do think that both of them could play well here. I don't know if I'm going to get there on DraftKings on either of them, but I could definitely see it. I do lean Rye a little bit more. Just I think he's been playing a little bit better golf. I think his accuracy and off the tee game will translate well here. And despite the fact that he doesn't have a lot of distance, he is a guy that scores well on par fives, and that's where you have to do the bulk of your scoring at Augusta. So I like Rye a little bit better there. So I guess we can kick off the 6K range there. Rye is in consideration for me. I'm going to play JJ Spawn. The best golf of his career this year so far. So do like where his game is at. Second on approach over the last 24 rounds. Guy that can strike the ball very well. I think I'm going to ride that form coming in. And speaking of riding form, Michael Kim, I mean, he obviously played incredibly well to even be in this field. The fact that he was finally able to take some time off, it's his second time at Augusta, so I don't mind him with the current state of his game. Obviously, he has been striking the ball well. He has the around the green game that you would want here, so I do like him quite a bit. And then I'm going to go to Phil, too. I mean, he's actually looked pretty good on Live this year. He's actually toned it back a little bit with the distance and actually is getting a little bit more accurate here. So really don't hate what he's been doing. He's been striking the ball well. He's actually 8th in fairways gained on Live, which for Phil you would never think that would be the case. He's also 8th in putting, so he's striking the ball well. He's putting the ball well, and we're at Augusta, so I'm willing to go there. Mike, what are you thinking in the 6K range here?
I like to call on Mike Kim. I'm going to come down a little bit farther. Chris Kirk, just again fits kind of my type there. Come down a little further. Denny. I don't know how Denny is only 6,500. That seems mispriced. So I'll take that all day long. That feels like a 7 flat, 71 type of play there. So I feel like there's a little bit of savings there. I don't know. I don't know how much lower you're really trying to go in a major here. There's plenty of talent above this.
Yeah, this 6K range is not great. Dave, anything stick out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was this show last year. Mike was telling us how Max Home was going to be a
Yeah,
generational
I was
talent,
thinking that too. I
and
was thinking that too. I'm like, oh my
he's
god.
sitting there right here at 6,500 with some good course history, but that's not for me. I never seem to get the right Højgaard right, so I'll be flipping a coin between Nikolai and Rasmus again at this course. And one play that just kind of sticks out, course history. Harris English always pops up where you think he shouldn't. Always seems to be in contention at these elevated events or majors when most are going to write him off. So at his price tag, good course history, he's a play that I truly like from down here.
Yeah, Benny on too at 6,800. He came 16th here last year. I don't think that you're looking for him to contend, but down here in the 6K range, that's really not what you're looking for. Hoagie obviously played better last week. I don't know if I want to go there with him though at Augusta. Charles Schwartzel, I mean, he looked really good in Miami. Actually, somehow came storming back on Sunday and had a chance to actually win it. He's got the short game, been playing all right on Live. It obviously has the history at Augusta. 6,200. That's probably the lowest I would go there of the Live guys, and otherwise really don't love much down here in the 6K range. But Dave, I know you rattled off a bunch of bets there. So what do you have so far?
So I've got Lowry at 45. I've got Zalatoris at 65. I've got Straka at 80. And Batia is the future at 120. And I'd like to add somebody from the top of the board, but I don't know if the number's going to get there. Was looking at John Rahm, but want to play him over 20. Might end up being either Xander or Ludwig.
Yeah, like I said, I was back and forth between Rory or going with a couple other guys. Only one I have so far is the Min Woo. I got it at 69, jump back in at 65. I do like Rom. I could have got him at 18 on Saturday, and it just doesn't look like that number's getting back up there. I've seen it as low as 13, so I don't really want to bet it at 13. Possibly Xander. I've seen him as low as 25. That entices me a little bit. I do have a top 10 on Morikawa. I was considering the outright on him just with how well he's been playing, the fact that he does have 2 majors, but just the fact that he keeps faltering down the stretch, if there's a Scottie or a Rory breathing down his neck, or even Rahm, I worry a little bit about him being able to pull it out. So that's why I went with the top 10 there. I think that his safety, it makes sense there. I do like your bets though, Dave. I might go in on Zalatoris. I might go in on Straka. I don't know if I'm going to get there on Batia, but you got good numbers on those guys, and I do think that I'm probably going to end up there, and maybe a Xander if I can get Rom back to an 18. Maybe I consider that, but we'll have everything hammered down. Going to be doing a betting preview tomorrow with some guests, so should have a little bit better idea at what we're going to do there. I have made 2 first round leader bets already, and those are Patrick Reed at, I believe it was 60-1 with 7 places, and Phil Mickelson at 80-1 with 7 places. So do like them. Probably going to look to add at least 2 more guys in that first round leader market as well. Mike, anything that stands out to you on the betting board, whether it be at the top or just someone down the board that looks a little bit enticing?
I gotta find it now. It was Bhatia, but not the outright. I think it was top 5. He was at like plus 13. I feel like that's a really good number for Bhatia. Lost it now because reasons. Minwoo, same thing. Like you can get him. Not as good as you're getting them, but I'm good with the 60 that it's still sitting at. I'm good with plus 800 on the top 5 there as well. Plus 350 on on top 10. So just Minwoo, I think you can play that all the way across. Up top, just not anything I'm super in love with here. I think JT at plus 25, you can get worse. It's like you guys said just off the top of the show, can he avoid a blow up? And at Augusta, not always. So, but I still think 25 is not the worst number there.
Yeah, I think it's a fair number. I definitely would consider it as well. I've just bet Thomas too many times over the last 2 years, and obviously he has not won in quite some time. Is his first win in several years going to be at Augusta? That kind of worries me a little bit. And you just jogged my memory. I actually did make Minwoo top 10 at plus 350 as well. Was going to wait to see what his each way was, but then when Bet Rivers came out with their numbers, he was only at like 45-1, so it just didn't make sense for the each way there. So I just took the top 10 at plus 350 and have the outright on him. So that's what we're looking at this week, and it's the Masters. We're back. So Mike, what is your number one scenario coming down the stretch that you would want to see on Sunday?
Just that the back nine matters. Like honestly, I don't give a shit at this point. We tried the top of the show like 3 times, so I don't know actually what made the show and what didn't. But I'm over all the half and half bullshit. So I just want a really good, back nine coming down on Sunday. Give me 2 or 3 guys in contention. Get me an eagle on 15 that fucking matters. Give me something fun on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree. It's just we've had some good tournaments this year where it's been interesting down the stretch. We need it at the Masters. We haven't gotten it in a while. Dave, what about you? What's ultimate scenario for Sunday?
I want the 4 guys that I bet to be in the final 2 groups. Is that too much to ask for?
Yeah, maybe you don't want them all in the final group. Maybe you want someone to post a number, and then the other 3 of them can maybe.
It's true. It could win on their tries all in a row. We went the entire show without talking about Brooks. Is anyone interested in him this week?
No. And generally, I see Brooks at a number 30-1 or higher at a major, and I am betting it pretty much every time. He has not looked good this year. It's similar to DJ. He does not look right. Now, obviously, it's Brooks at a major, so he can do it. He came second here. What was it, the ROM year? Otherwise, he hasn't been great at the Masters. He's obviously a major hunter, but at the Masters in particular, at Augusta, it hasn't been the best for him. So I really don't love it. I mean, he had the second place in 2023. Otherwise, he's missed the cut twice and came 45th last year. So if he gets me, he gets me. But I'm just going to overlook it this year. Hope that he plays like shit, and then maybe I'll jump back on it at the PGA Championship or the U.S. Open, and maybe he's figured it out by then.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. He was an auto bet for me over 30 last year at any major, and I couldn't care less what he's up to at the moment.
So on Sunday, dream scenario, I mean, Scottie Rory. It's, you can make a case that you want maybe Rahm and Rory, or Rahm and Scottie in the final group, and then maybe Bryson and Scottie or Rory in the group behind it. But we haven't got these 2 guys battling it out, and I just think it would be incredible the guy that's going for back-to-back and 3 Masters wins in the last 4, and then Rory trying to get the Masters, that would be incredible if the two of them are dueling it out, going toe-to-toe over the last 9 holes. So that would be dream scenario for me.
Yeah, even throw Phil in the mix with that. Have somebody, you know, the Rory, Scottie, and you know your elites from Live going head to head down the stretch. But like even Mike was saying, just looking for good television at this point. You know, good close tournament with some suspense down the end, and I think everyone leaves happy.
Yeah, I concur. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Now, we gotta, there's some elevated events, Mike. So I know that tickles your fancy. We definitely got to get the crew back together. I know Fitz is a little under the weather, but got to do more shows before the end of the year. We can't go an entire football season and a quarter of a golf season before we do this again, because it has been fun. But Mike, thank you for joining.
Hello, friends.
Bob Costas, right?
Yeah, Bob Costas.
All right. We will see you soon. Dave?
Yeah, let's do it again sometime before the next major. And I mean, I play us out anyway, so.
This is true. Well, that's going to do it for this one. Check out thehelmsports.com. As I said, I already have the 2 articles up there with the Live recent form and Masters history for those guys. Have the extensive course preview and Masters preview up there. This is the Draftkings show. We'll have a betting preview tomorrow, so check all that out. As always, thank you for listening. I am your host, Derek Helm. And remember,
Just have fun out there.